We're here in Ann Arbor, Michigan, with Everton from Wood Chic.
How you doing?
Good, man. We're here talking. We just wanted to talk some about Phantom, about the machine, and obviously you have several CNCs in here, and kind of what the process is. We're trying to make sure that when guys see our equipment, that we can kind of drop some of the intimidation factor. And also I want to talk about what it did for you, like what it did to help your business, what kind of challenges you might have faced at the very beginning of this, and just kind of enlighten people that may not know what it's like to own a CNC and more specifically a Phantom.
Yeah.
So how did the process look to you from the beginning?
Well, you know, I started CNC work about 5 years ago. And my first machine was a 2-foot by 2-foot bed. Super excited to get it. And you know, one of the things that I quickly learned in the CNC world is you don't know what you don't know. And so got the machine, got it all set up, and at the time I was just happy to make some really crazy intricate shapes, and that was really fun, right? But it didn't take me long that I outgrew that space. And so it went from 2x2 to 2x4 to 48x48. I've got some bigger machines now as well. And you know, the whole thing is that it's an evolution. So as your capability evolves, so does your skill set, and so does the art of the possible. The light bulb clicks in and what can I make next, right? Boy, I wish I had slightly longer machine or slightly wider machine. And so those are all some of the factors that come into play when you start dipping in the CNC world. Yeah,
and creativeness, or creativity, I should say. You know, most of the folks that are doing this, whether it's woodworking, even cabinet shops, there's always a creative mind back there that's like, hey, I want to do something a little unique or a little proprietary to what I do. And so that is something that's cool to hear, because we hear that so much when I talk to customers, is that a lot of guys will ask me, should I get this 4x8 or should I get a 5x10? I see some uses in the 5x10, and it kind of is the same principle of your shop, you know, buy your second shop first. And so it's interesting to hear that, because you get involved in it, and it kind of seems really, at first it seems like a really difficult process, like it's intimidating to make a design on a CNC. And so how long did it take you to kind of get past that, even with your 2x2? Like,
you know, the design work is always a challenge. I think one of the things that we try to do is we try to make all of our own designs in-house. And it is time consuming, right? Yeah. And so when you're doing custom pieces, when you're doing custom orders, you know, a lot of people think that, hey, the CNC does everything. It does to a certain extent, but there's a whole lot of other variables that come into play. Now, I don't want to shy you off and say, oh, I got to learn all this other software and I got to learn all these other tools, because there are things out there to help you, right? You can buy files readily available, you can exchange files, you can use the same file repeatedly. Yeah. But what I'm really getting at is, and what's really interesting about CNCing and what I learned, is that it's probably the most versatile tool that you can have in your shop. And what I mean by that is I do a lot of trays. This is what our business does. We do a lot of trays. We do a lot of kids learning toys and accessories as well. That's what we do mostly. But at the same time, the versatility of a CNC allows me to get into making furniture, doing 3D carvings, doing wall art. The possibilities are endless. Yeah. And that whole creativity process evolves. And that kind of ties back to what I was saying earlier about when I got the small CNC, the 2x2 bed, I had something in mind very specific that I wanted to make, and that made it, which was great. But once I got comfortable with the machine and I started feeling I want more, I want to push my limits, I want to push my capability, I want to push my art form, that's where the bigger machines became more useful. Right. So I always suggest, buy the biggest machine your floor space and budget can afford. Even if you're not using the whole space at all times, you're going to make it useful. And in our case, what we've done is on this 48 by 48 inch bed, we do everything off of what I call a cookie, which is basically a 12 by 36 inch canvas. and I lay them out side by side so I can maximize use of the bed and make more pieces at a time to increase productivity.
Right, right. And so, going from a 2x2 bed to making 6 or 8 projects at one time, I'm sure that felt like a learning curve along the way. How long did it take you to feel like you were comfortable saying, okay, run, and there's 6 projects there, and you know that you're not going to mess that up?
Yeah.
Like, how long does that take for you to really feel like, okay, I got this dialed in?
Well, not long at all. I think the biggest principle is having a proper setup to hold everything in place. So the CNC machine, the Phantom machine, comes with a built-in vacuum setup.
Right.
I chose not to use the vacuum setup because a few reasons. The primary reason, I ran out of power in the shop.
Right.
But I also, because I work with hardwoods, I don't always have true flat, and I had some concerns there. But the real thing that really comes into play is making sure that you have a solid foundation to clamp your material both vertically, side by side, and up and down.
Yeah, yeah.
And once you do that, it's repeatable no matter if I have 2, 4, 6 pieces that I'm making at a time. And as long as you have the proper clamping setup,
Yeah.
it's pretty simple.
And fixturing and hold down and registration. So that is I feel like the 2 biggest keys of CNC, and it's great that you just said the same thing. This corner piece that you have built here is such a, you told me something earlier about in the program, you have the tabletop set up where you know where this home position is going to be every time. So it makes your work very repeatable and very production forward as far as trying to do more projects and not have to worry so much with this, because this is one of the more important factors of CNC.
So I use Vectric software. I use Aspire. So I have a template for my spoil boards on all of my machines in Vectric.
Right.
And what I do is I zero off of the corner here, and in my paddle, I usually save the 0 more than once, because you always fat finger it and erase that 0. I've always got a backup because this registration is key. And so when I have 2 pieces next to here, this goes at 12 inches. My next part starts from 12 to 24. My third would start from 24 to 36.
Right.
All starting here. It's all math.
Right. So as long as you got this right, everything else is going to be good 100%. Along the way.
Yep.
Right. That's good stuff. So tell me about what it did, how your company opened up, and when you got a Phantom versus some of the smaller units you were running, what it did for the capability of your company that you actually run now.
Yeah. So when I started looking at getting a larger machine, I spent a lot of time doing research, and some of the big variables that came into mind was, I wanted to make sure that I had a machine that I wasn't going to outgrow, a machine that could grow with me, so to speak.
Right.
But then as a small business, you've always got the budget side of the equation as well, right? And, on the budget side of the equation, I just kept asking myself, well, geez, that's a significant investment, and, the fear factor of trying to sustain your small business.
Right.
But the productivity that came with the machine, that wasn't quite advertised.
Yeah.
The productivity that came with the machine really changed and transformed the business. And so a couple different ways. Number one, we already talked about machining multiple parts concurrently.
Right. Right.
Is a huge productivity gainer in and of itself. But the ATC was the game changer. Because now when I have 2, 4, 6 pieces being cut concurrently, that's an hour, 2 hours, 2.5 hours of machine time.
Right.
Previously, I'd have to come back and change, reclamp, swap boards, and basically babysit the machine while it was doing its thing. Now, while my machine is running, guess what? I'm spending my time prepping boards that I'm going to cut the following day.
Right.
And so that productivity is not only on how many pieces I'm making concurrently on the machine, but what else I'm doing in the shop to feed the beast.
Yeah. And so, and you'll notice on this piece here, how many tools did you use for this piece?
This piece here, I use 4 tools actually, and I partner with High Country Tools. They awesome bits.
Amazing tool.
I love the fact that they come out super clean, which minimizes sanding and legwork on the back end. Another thing I like about this machine is I've really been able to dial in my settings, my speeds and feeds, right? Using a CNC is very simple. Mastering a CNC takes time. And one of the things that I found was taking the time to master your speeds and feeds pays dividends. Because maybe it's another 20 minutes or 30 minutes of machine time, but that's 60 minutes less of manual sanding.
Right.
Or even worse, paying someone else to do it for me. So I get clean cuts and reproducible results. So on this piece here, I use 4 cutters. So I use a round over on my inside and outside edges. I use what they call a ripper to gouge out the material quickly on the inside. And then I use a 3/8 inch end mill for the final pass to get a nice smooth finish. And then I switch to a smaller bit to do the profile on the outside.
Yeah. And it's the speeds and feeds conversation, since we're there, I'd like to just mention a couple of things that you just kind of brushed on. And we get a lot of customers that call us and say, I want to see the speeds and feeds chart for the bits that you sell. And maybe as a user, you could explain it a little bit better than I could explain it, how many variations are within that factor. Because, you know, you have variations of, you just mentioned High Country Tool. Well, how about if somebody's running a Mana bit, or how about if they're running a Jenny bit, or whatever it is. So those different bits all have different speeds and feeds. And also the substrate you're working on obviously is a big factor in that. So what is the best way for you to determine that speed and feed? Like, what is the secret sauce to really get down and get clean cuts like this straight off the table?
So you're right. The speeds and feeds differ by every bit manufacturer and every piece of material that you're using and every machine that you may be using. Typically, most bit manufacturers, they provide a recommended setting. I like to consider that a starting point.
Right.
Because really, at that point, it becomes a bit subjective, right? So when you use a recommended setting, what you'll typically get is you'll produce almost like rice grains of sawdust.
Right.
And that kind of tells you that, hey, I'm optimizing the strain I'm putting on the cutter to optimize its life. What I'm trying to go for when I dial in my speeds and feeds is to get as clean of a finish as I can without tear out and without having to come back and manually sand. And so I make some minor adjustments. Right. So my suggestion is start with the recommended settings from the bit manufacturer, and then play around with different increments, changing the spindle speed, changing your feed rate speed.
Yeah.
But only change one at a time so you know which variable is giving you the result you're trying to get.
Right. So time, it's a time thing. I mean, you really need to spend time in doing that. Something that Steve tells me a lot with speeds and feeds is the sound.
Yes.
Because as an operator, and you're in here listening to this machine run for hours at a time, you can actually be around the corner. We don't suggest that. You could be around the corner and you could hear something go wrong, and it's instant. There's a lot of things that we relate to what we hear, and speeds and feeds will be the same way.
Yeah. It number one, truth, right? Going back to what I said earlier, you don't know what you don't know, right? When I first started, I had bits in there, that thing would be screaming Bloody Mary, and I'm like, oh, it's cutting this crazy shape, isn't this awesome? Yeah. And the thing was screaming, you could hear it a mile away, and I'm thinking, oh, this is great.
This is awesome, yeah.
But it was a mess. Right. It was a hot mess.
Right.
The other thing I'll say is my speeds and feeds, they've evolved over time when I just wanted more and more perfection. The OCD in me just said, can I get better? Can I get better? And it really took me 2-3 years to finally get to where I'm at now, and probably won't change them for a while.
Yeah.
But it does take time. But you're absolutely right. Sound is everything on these machines. If something sounds off, it's probably off.
Yeah, yeah. And you don't have to live in the good enough space. And there's a lot of guys out there, I think, with CNCs and maybe CNC operators that's been running these things for years, and they've just gotten to a point of good enough, and they know that they're going to have a finished process behind it. And some applications you're going to have to finish it. I mean, and I mean, obviously you have little finished work, but you're trying to eliminate as much of that as you can. So good enough in speeds and feeds is really a dangerous place to live. To get it dialed in, like you said, it's almost a constant working thing that you're going through to continue evolving your feeds and speeds. Especially if you use the same bit, like you're using High Country tools. Every time you use High Country tools, you know what that is. Yeah. But if you change that to another bit and it's the same exact makeup,
start over.
It's going to change.
Start over. Yeah. Well, you raise a good point, right? And I think it really comes down to what your shop goals are.
Right.
And what your production goals are. For us, we're a small family-owned business. And we've been honored and humbled by gaining a strong following locally, as well as with some of our partners that we work with as well. And our sales have just, skyrocketed, which has been great, right? But what we're trying to do is we're trying to improve our productivity without compromising quality. And so we don't have an army of folks that are going to do the finish work. When it comes off going through the process, it's all in the family. And so we're really trying to minimize some of the work, some of the steps that we have down the road.
Right.
So where, I'm spending hours and hours and hours getting my speeds and feeds right. If you're getting a nice clean cut and you're happy with it, great, right?
And you got the labor behind it to finish it
exactly.
out.
And maybe you're not a production shop and you're doing 5 pieces a week, and that's fine. That's great, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. I think, as part of my journey, one of the challenging pieces that I had is, Google University or YouTube University.
Yeah. I graduated.
Exactly. you learn a lot, right?
Yeah.
But there's some elements that are subjective and there's little gaps.
Right.
And those are things that you just need to explore on your own. And what works for you is what matters.
Right. And you go to YouTube University and that guy's been doing CNC for 20 years. So I know that what he's telling me is truth. Well, truth is so subjective to what you're working on, what you're working with, what kind of equipment you're using, what bit you have.
Exactly.
There's so many different factors in that. So let's talk now about your company and what you guys do. You mentioned that you do trays and you mentioned kids too. So let's talk about that. Let the people know what you guys actually create with your CNC.
Awesome. So our business was actually started by my wife and my daughter. We're called Wood Chic. We started this business, or my wife started this business, initially wanting to focus on making kids learning products. She's got a teaching background. Our kids are getting older. My daughter's in college. My son's, will blink. He'll be done with high school. Yeah. My wife was kind of looking for what am I going to do next when the kids are gone.
Right.
And so she wanted to leverage her education in early childhood development and started looking at, okay, how can I do that? So she got into the idea of making kids' toys. So we started doing, name puzzles and things like that, which are great. We started working with natural hardwoods. And before you know it, we started some partnerships with some influencers on Instagram. Button and Bug is one of our biggest partners today. And we do a lot of what they call sensory trays for kids learning. And sensory trays are all about open-ended play through imagination, where a child will take a piece like this, it sits into an IKEA table for sensory play, and it's all an integrated setup. And a child uses this to fill it with different textured and colored fillers. It could be salts, felts, rice, noodles, things of that nature.
Right.
And the whole idea is play through imagination, right? Create the dinosaur, color the dinosaur. We've got, other designs, these are some simple examples, and ice cream cones, another popular one in the summer. Our collection with Button and Bug, we have probably 50 different designs that we do that span the gamut from castles to pirate ships to birthday cakes and everything in between, and it's a whole lot of fun. From there, we quickly realized that big kids want fun trays too. So then we came up with the concept of what I call the charcuterie tray. And the charcuterie board is, very popular. It's all the rage. Problem with charcuterie boards, they typically don't have a lip. So by the time you go from one room to the next, everything ends up on the floor. So what we've done is we added just enough lip to hold in your yummies without hiding your table arrangement. And what makes it fun is that we put different fun designs embedded into the piece. And so what happens is, as you fill this with your favorite treats, imagine this at a Phantom holiday party filled with treats, and as people consume, it starts to reveal your logo, and people get a kick out of it.
Yeah. Conversation.
It's a conversation starter. It connects people, right? Yep. So our collection of trays, we've got over 150 different designs that we do now. We do dogs, we do pets. I do custom pieces. I call them Charcute Your Pet, where I'll take a customer's actual dog and transform it into a tray such as this.
Nice.
And the whole idea is connecting people through woodwork.
Right.
Making functional artwork.
Yeah, I love that.
And, we talked earlier about the journey, right? So this is what I set out to do. This fits perfectly in a 2x2 form factor, right?
Right.
Then I wanted to scale the business. I went into a larger machine, right? Then when I wanted to scale my capability, I started playing with different things. 3D work, as an example. So this is a simple wave design cut in walnut. And these make great door fronts for a nightstand or a cabinet, right? Yeah. Making it, a little unique, a little artistic, which is pretty cool. Here's another example of
That's really cool.
Something we've done with 3D artwork as well. This is the world's fanciest tortilla holder.
Nice.
Actually, it's a little jewelry box, but when I first made it, I made them a little larger. It looked just like a tortilla box, so that's what I kind of call it, kind of stuck with it. I like this material here. It's made out of skateboard planks.
Wow. That's
a buddy of mine at Peace Coast Skateboards, he sent me some boards to play with, and I just got a kick out of that, which is really neat.
Yeah, it's actually really neat, the design on the front of it. It's really neat. And it's so crazy. It goes right into what we were talking about with CNC and how many capabilities. How long have you been CNCing?
About 5 years.
5 years, and you're still finding ways to expand your creative scope, and you find different things to do, and so that's great. This is a awesome product. The fact that you guys are doing sensory product for kids and that you actually crossed over into an adult space, that's amazing. Congratulations on all your success.
Thank you.
And we really appreciate you opening up your shop to us. We're trying to, as Phantom, go into a time period where we go and speak with customers and find out stories of where they came from, how we were able to help. Phantom is a company of helping people. That is really what our premise is. That's what we want to do with this company. So having folks like yourself opening it up is really important for us, and we really appreciate that. So,
well, the one thing I'd like to add in working with Phantom has been, my experience with Phantom has been great, right? I mean, early on, from when I first started looking at the machine, graduating to a larger machine, there's a lot of thought that goes into it, right? It's like, man, it's a big investment. It's scary. Is it too much machine?
Right.
Is it enough machine?
Right.
And you balance all of that, right? And there's a number of players in the space, and you start comparing one versus the other and all those sorts of things. But I think, to me, what really closed the deal, and it's been true the 3+ years that I've had this machine, is the intimacy that our shop has had with Phantom. Both, starting from the initial engagement and selling process, addressing all the questions that I had with regard to the machine. Is it the right machine for me? What do I have to worry about in terms of power in my shop and all those kinds of fun things? Right. Everything was addressed promptly and accurately and all that fun stuff. But even more importantly, in the day-to-day use of the machine, we're a small shop, we're a production shop. When my machines are down, I'm not making my pieces, and my customers feel it, right?
Right.
The reputation of our business feels it.
Right.
And Phantom has always recognized that. And anytime I had support questions or concerns, promptly addressed. If I needed parts, quick parts. And oh, by the way, and most of the time when this broke, I broke it.
Yeah.
Not the machine, just for the record.
Yeah, yeah.
But whenever I did have challenges, you guys were always there and very supportive, and I appreciate that.
That's good to hear, man, because at the end of the day, Phantom is the thing that we try to tell people. And in the sales process, this sounds so salesy, but after you become a customer and you really understand who we are you. We are the guys. Our entire staff is made up of these guys, the woodworker guys that are out here. So the fact that if your machine does break or something goes wrong with it, we look at that like you might not be able to feed your family this week because your machine is down. And those are things that we really take to heart. So I'm glad that that shows up on the other side of this.
100%.
That is really a story that we try to tell, and we try to live by that. We're not shooting for skyscraper buildings. We're really shooting to help people out and to understand the business. And of course, we're going to make some money along the way, but that's really not what our goal is every day. So it's good to hear that, man. I really appreciate your honesty there. And it helps us a lot.
It's been our experience day one, and it's a really important factor because, you know, I've had situations where I've missing a part or missing a component, or, you know, I had a piece of equipment years ago. Believe it or not, it was a little piece. It cost 78 cents. No one could find it, but I couldn't make anything without it.
Right, right. Well, it's crazy. We just heard a story from a big production facility that we went to in Western North Carolina that had a fitting go wrong on this huge 5-ax machine that is a, several $100,000 machine, and it took 2 months for them to get that fitting. And that is something that we really, really try to focus on, because we understand we try not to use parts that it's going to take, an act of Congress to get the part. And we try to do those things up front. And, obviously everybody's going to drop the ball from time to time, but we definitely try to stay on top of that. So it's good that it's paid out. It's good that it's paid out.
In the end, it's, it's equipment, machinery, things happen.
Mechanical,
right? But having a partner in your corner that understands your business and that you're relying on the machine makes all the difference.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Everton. It's been a pleasure. And we will be visiting soon for a new project that you and I are going to work with, and we're very excited about as well. So
that's going to be fun.
We won't let that out of the bag.
You guys aren't going to want to miss that one. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a good time. I'm really excited about that. So thank you again.